Welcome back to the Animal Combo Project. This is part 5 of the tutorial, and this is of this series called the Animal Combo Project with a book project. So what we're going to do here in this tutorial is finish up with the animal, and I've pretty much worked on it in between tutorials, and then we're going to add a background and modify the background a little bit. And then we'll get to adding shadows in future tutorials and type. So as you can see, if I zoom in here, you'll see lots of painting and cloning going on in the image, and this will become less apparent, especially looking at it from a distance or printing it out. And then we're going to apply some filters later on that'll help with that basically hiding those little marks here and there. But this is where I left off. Now again, I've been working in between tutorials, and what I wanted to share with you was this some actual adjustments that are going on here. So if I turn off this layer here, you can see how the wing here in the foreground just looks a little bit more connected to the animal here. And that's because I've changed this, I added a gradient and changed the blend mode to color. I've also desaturated it a little bit, and so you can see how intense that is. So these are color adjustments. I want to do the same thing to the wing back there. I actually duplicated the hue saturation adjustment, which is right here. If I double click on it, you can see I just dragged the middle slider to the left here a little bit. If I drag to the right, it gets more saturated. So that's how I did that. And now what we want to do is affect this other wing. So here's the adjustment, the saturation adjustment. And now what we want to do is add a new layer above it. We want to clip it, so we hold Alt or Option between the two layers and clip it. And then we use the gradient tool, which is with the paint bucket tool. So it has a hotkey of G. And basically I'm going to select two different colors. So I'm going to select a highlight color here, and then I'm going to reverse my arrows here, or hit the X key to reverse, and select some sort of shadow color. So these two basically. And I want the light to be on the top, so I just reverse these, make sure light's the foreground color. And then I'm going to drag downwards while holding shift. And once I do that, I get this effect here. Now, if your gradient is not quite visible, what you can do is switch to the move tool and basically hold shift and kind of drag up till you start to see some of the transition that happens. And then what you need to do is change the blend mode from normal to color. Obviously that's going to be way too dark, so the final step is to drop the opacity. It's basically just tinting the image a little bit so that it allows you to blend in a little better. And that looks pretty good. So now I'm pretty much digging the animal. It's got all kinds of parts here, and we'll eventually group, actually we do have everything in this originals group here, which is the original copy. I could rename this and call it Animal Combo. And so I have that on there. And I have on another layer, I have a background image. Now I got this from a photo shoot I did when I went to Salt Lake recently, last summer, and in Utah, and took this wonderful picture. Salt Lake's a great place to take photos. And I just brought it in, and you'll notice I brought it up higher. So if I move it around, you can kind of see the whole image here. What I wanted is I wanted the skyline to be a little bit higher up. And I was looking at tangents. Tangents are where intersecting lines connect. I don't want the horizon line, and I'm going to reduce the size of this animal probably at some point, and I'll probably move it down a little bit, like around here. So I'm thinking, what I want to do is have it somewhere in this region, so I can have room for the type up there. So what we have to do is extend the landscape here. So I'm going to turn off this image here of the animal and select the landscape here. And what I'm going to do is select my rectangular marquee tool and just select some area here of the landscape and basically just copy it. So I'm going to hit Control C or Command C on a Mac, and then Control Shift V or Command Shift V on a Mac, and then switch to my move tool and basically drag that down like so until I get to the end here. And then I'll free transform it a little bit and actually make it a little bit bigger so it extends up just a little bit like that. It's okay to have it pull up a little bit and then hit return. And then what I want to do is combine these images together. So I'm just going to hit Control E or Command the E on the Mac, so it's one merged layer. And the reason why is because I can use the some different tools here. The one that's really great is this spot healing brush to get rid of some of these lines here. If I zoom in and switch back to that tool, and it works with the bracket keys just like we're going to paintbrush, but I can come in here and kind of paint out these lines, and it will break up that little space a little bit. And the sandy area of the Salt Lakes is pretty great because a lot of it does sort of repeat, but you could see here how this shadow here and this shadow here are pretty similar. So what I can do is come in here and paint away with this tool. I can also use the clone stamp tool. So I just hold Alt or Option for an area to select, and basically start painting in. And you want to have all layers usually selected, or current layer if you're painting directly on that layer. But I'm going to add a new layer above it so I don't actually destroy, the actual layer. And I'm going to have the opacity 100% normal up here. And as I paint, I actually add, some other stuff along here. So, and the whole idea here is you select different areas to kind of break it up, and that's what I'm doing here. And you got to be careful not to hit too many of the same areas. But by doing this, what will happen is I can break it up and make it just a little bit different than the other area here. And I feel like that's broken up a little bit more. Now I'm going to switch to this brush again. So I'm actually going to merge these layers again by hitting Control E, Command E, and then just come around, and anywhere that I don't like, I can paint out, certain areas again, and kind of break it up. Now with the animal here, it is going to take up a lot of the area, so I don't have to worry about it completely. I may even actually use another tool in here, which is the patch tool, and select a whole area here and drag down and release, and or actually drag up and release like that, and to basically blend that out. So actually I want to undo because I accidentally grabbed this area. I always forget how this tool works. You have to select the area you want to change and drag it to a new location, and it will basically copy that location. And Photoshop's pretty nice to do this because it automatically sort of reclones that area. So if I zoom out here, it doesn't look quite as defined as like that whole image, especially with the animal in here. And if I actually reduce the size, maybe do some other hand painting tricks, but yeah, this works pretty well. I probably will reduce the animal size. I'm actually going to duplicate the whole group, and it pops up my other display here. Click OK, and then what I'm going to do is right click and convert to smart object. The reason why I'm doing this is so that when I free transform it, I can basically go back if I have to. So I'm going to hold shift and reduce the size a little bit. Now what we're seeing is two images, so I'm going to hit move it around here a little bit and then hit return, and then turn off the original final animal combo underneath. And I'm kind of liking this. I think this is about the appropriate size I want this animal combo to be. I may adjust the position a little bit, but the next tutorial will bring in some text, we'll add some cool shadows, and we'll try and wrap up this project, the Animal Combo Book Project. Until then, see you soon. Cheers.